in that era.
And it's also, when you look at my resume,
the gap.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
the reason why. When Michael's in there, next year Herman grabbed one, Andre Rison grabbed one. Like, hey, brother, wasn't many pros.
You can try to set the bar high.
Right.
Oh, there's no
bar was high.
Because Jerry's just got one column himself, and so you guys are all for about a decade jostling for the other.
And we have some commonality. I think that both of us felt like we're very, very underrated. We played each other a lot. We had some of our ex-teammates play on each other's teams. So Herman and I have been knowing each other for a long time. Glad to be able to bring you here to New York, man, be able to talk a little football.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to spending a little time and talking to you guys about all this good stuff.
All right, let's start with some Dez Bryant, another wide receiver in the news. After being out of football since April, Dez wasted no time getting back in it. Practiced with the Saints for the first time yesterday. His new head coach, Sean Payton, said Dez could play as early as this Sunday against the Bengals. All right, Herman, what do you expect to see from Dez Bryant with the Saints? Will he play? If he does, how much? And most importantly, how much of an impact could he have on this team?
You know, he can have an impact. The biggest thing when you're coming in and you're making a transition from one team to another is to come in and understand how to get your footing under you. If you come in and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to take off where I left off with my other team, you're just not going to have that kind of glue. You know, you got to come in and figure out, okay, how do I fill in the gaps? Because they're bringing you in for a reason. And if you think that all of a sudden you got to win over teammates, you got to win over the fans, you now can't go in with the attitude that I have to be at the level I was when I was leaving another team and try and make everybody a naysayer, you know. But Dez is a good guy. I think he's going to bring a fire. And you look at that 2 and 3 spot, he's going to fill in a gap.
Okay, so that gap right there, let's go third down. So if he was to make an initial impact, we know Sean Payton, very, very creative. We know Kamar coming out of the backfield. We know they got Ingram. We know Michael Thomas they're trying to throw to. But third down in red zone, I would think, or places you think that you would get Dez involved immediately.
Oh, absolutely, because you're getting matchup problems. That's what it is, a league of matchups. If you get Dez going up against a nickelback or going up against a guy that is not that starter, I mean, you got to account for him. He's going to also open it up for a lot of other guys. So Dez is going to be value if he's out there on the field, period.
How hard is it to learn a new system? I understand you played basically the entirety of your career with the Detroit Lions, so I'm not necessarily from your personal experience, but
they did change their coordinator a few times because they had one of the most prolific offenses, 3 receivers, 1 back, and then they switched to a couple different offenses when the head coach got fired.
So maybe you can pull from that. Because for Dez, he's going from having only played for Jason Garrett, having played with multiple quarterbacks, so obviously only played with the Cowboys, to not only going to, I think, a complex system in New Orleans, but a team that it's not like they're bringing him in because they've had all these injuries or their offense can't crack 20 points. They are functioning at a very high level. What's the margin, the learning curve for Dez Bryant in something like that?
The learning curve is going to be how does he get to full speed? You know, when you're playing and you have to think, you're coming into a new system, that people don't understand that's a tough task in itself. I remember when I went to actually my last year, I was in New York and I played under Sean Payton as the offensive coordinator under Jim Fossil. And I was when I got there, I was trying to figure out how do I get my wheels going and get back to that full speed. And I felt I was always a step behind. So that's why I look for Dez. If they limit his plays, they can improve his impact.
There's a reason that it took this long for Dez Bryant to get a job. There's going to be some semblance of I don't know, him having to relax a little bit of who he was in order to fit into this locker room. He's got a guy like Drew Brees and Sean Payton and the wide receiver coach, Curtis Johnson, who you talk about a lot.
CJ is really good, yes.
So as much as he's going to have to learn to get onto the field, how much is he going to have to also adjust to fit into a group where he's not going to be the #1 receiver anymore, and he's going to have to learn from everyone else around him?
I don't think it's going to be that tough because he understands what a guy like Drew Brees is going to bring to the table. He understands, and I think will have the respect of a Sean Payton. When you come into a system like that, you're trying to say, how do I get my play? How do I come in and contribute? And I think he's found really, he's got a place that he waited for, and he's in a perfect position. So I think he understands where he is and the opportunity that's in front of him. So I think he'll make the most of it.
Herm, explain to the fans, what is the difference? And do wide receivers like having a great running back or a running attack, and what it does for a big-time receiver, and a lot like you had most of your career playing with someone like Barry Sanders?
Barry Sanders, Barry Sanders, listen, it takes a lot of pressure off of you. You don't have to come in and feel like you got to be the guy that's got to get everything done. Dez Bryant, like I said, this is a perfect situation for him to step into because he doesn't have to do anything except be Dez. Go out, make some plays, do what you're supposed to do, issue. Don't be a problem. Win over your teammates. But a running game definitely helps, I think, smooth everything out, having that balanced attack, so you're not depending just on the passing game.
All right, Herman, let's talk about a former Lion, Golden Tate. He'll make his debut against the Cowboys on Sunday night. Tate will try and bring the Eagles back to the Super Bowl. How much of an impact will Golden Tate have on the Eagles? You assume they want to get him up and running and into that offense pretty quickly.
I think what they're going to like about Golden Tate, and unfortunately for the Lions, what they lost his leadership. Golden Tate is a guy that brings a lot of experience at a high level after coming from Seattle. They're going to get a guy that is a consummate team professional and a player that is there for the team.
You got a lot of respect for Golden Tate, and not the numbers, but some of the intangibles. We were talking off the air, and you were like, this is really going to hurt the Lions. So, on the other hand, what's he going to do for the Eagles?
What are the intangibles?
Well, he's a leader. Leadership. When things start to go bad, Golden Tate's that guy that comes in, he makes plays. He can take small plays and he makes it happen. He's tough. He talks about how to bring guys together, and he keeps it light. People underestimate their, when you start to lose and get behind, teams become frantic. Golden Tate is that type of guy that brings everyone together offensively, and I think he was a security blanket for Matthew Stafford.
Is that transferable instantly, not only to a new team, but a new team that's the defending Super Bowl champs? It's one thing to be he was arguably the best offensive player on the Lions other than Matt Stafford, maybe even including Matt Stafford. He'd been there for a few years at this point. Is that transferable, see?
I think when you have a respectable locker room like they do, there's a certain amount of knowledge that you have of other guys. Now, Golden Tate, it's genuine. He's a light guy. He's a funny guy. And the way he plays, he's not a diva receiver. He's not going to be a guy coming in asking for a bunch of demands and everything. So I think veteran players, they already know what his reputation is. And I believe that what they're going to be telling them, and veteran players will say, man, be yourself. So more they tell him that, then that's when he can actually be himself, and you'll start to see his leadership and some of the affection of his personality come out.
Yeah, absolutely, and you hit the nail right on the head. He's going to say the right things in public, and he's going to say the right thing in the locker room.
If he's a security blanket for Matthew Stafford, what could he do for Carson Wentz, who doesn't necessarily need that, but could very much use another wide receiver, have a good relationship with another receiver like that?
Dependability. It's a guy that when I'm looking for you, I need you to be there, you're going to be there. Golden Tate was a guy, he could be absent for 3 quarters, but the fourth quarter comes along, some guys haven't gotten the ball for 3 quarters. Not Golden Tate. He's there. He's still in the game mentally, and that's what he's going to bring.
The numbers say he's one of the best third down receivers in the league. That's what I think the reliability and dependability you're talking about is about. But they also say he's one of the best yards after catch receivers in the league.
King.
Yeah, and that is what the Eagles offense is missing, because that's what they were so good at last year. What makes a receiver great at that? Why is that a skill set that fits him so well?
First, he's focusing on catching the football. Golden Tate doesn't drop a lot of passes. Once he gets it, he's looking to say, how can I get more out of this? But he's doing it in a safe way. He's protecting the ball. He doesn't put it on the ground a lot. But that just shows that his effort. And you look for that, and that's how he gets a lot of his touchdowns. If you look at it, it's not a guy that gets tackled. He gets out, he breaks in, he's short, third down by 3 yards. All of a sudden, he gets a first down.
Typically, you see the guys who are like this, people like Pierre Garçon, people like Anquan Bolden. Typically, they have a little more running background in their history. In Golden Tate, that's what he has. Herman and I, we've been wide receivers, either our quarterbacks. We weren't running backs because we don't have the type of vision that those guys have. We're used to having our back to the defense, posting guys up, either that or cutting people apart running routes. Golden Tate, with that background as a running back, you can see that the party starts as soon as he gets the ball. He has a lower center of gravity. He's built totally different than big angular guys, a lot like ourselves. So it makes him have better vision. He's lower to the ground. So that elusiveness right there, I believe that what makes him special running with the yards after the catch.
So let's take a broader look then at the Eagles as a whole. They're in a good division where they could actually do something right now. How do you think he helps this team, and where do you think this team goes now? They have a big game against the Cowboys coming up.
That's always a big game. With Golden Tate, it's just another tool. He's another guy that's going to give them that step that they need to get further down the line, down in the East. When you look at the Redskins, you look at the Cowboys, I mean, it's a tough division. But with Golden Tate, as you can add players at this point, and this is the championship side of it. These are teams that are getting ready and geared up for the playoffs. Golden Tate provides some stability that perhaps they're going to need going down the stretch here.
All right, tell us a little bit about football week in Michigan.
Football week in Michigan, last year I had an opportunity to tour the state. It's all about football. It's 9 days where we go and we stop and we support our communities in Michigan, where we stop at food banks. We're going to be this week, we're going to end up going and talk to the veterans on Sunday, spend some time watching a football game. So it's a great week if you love football. We do high school, we do college, and then we end with pro.
Nice. Awesome. And then, Herman, you're working with Quick Lane to help support veterans. It's an appropriate day for us here in the studio, but tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Quick Lane, that's a wonderful thing. The Quick Lane Bowl, that is Quick Lane Tire and Auto Center. This is their 5th year doing it. It's held in Michigan. Great bowl game is the ACC versus the Big Ten. And there's a program they have called Trading One Uniform for Another. And it's a $10,000 scholarship that's awarded to veterans. And we've opened it up this year to first responders towards an automotive maintenance and repair certification. It's awesome, and we're looking forward to it. And if you want to learn more about it, you can go to qltrading1.com to see what's going on there. But it's a tremendous program for our men and women of military that are coming in making a transition, or now our first responders that are making that transition. And they can nominate themselves, unlike we could do in the Pro Bowl. They get to nominate themselves, and they could do that. So,
and this is something that Herman's not just now starting to do things like this. All throughout his career, he's always made an impact where he played. He's always done a great job there in Michigan. I used to have some football camps. He used to come down, visit the kids for me and everything. So you're talking about a guy that's been not only good on the field, but he's been great for the NFL brand throughout his life. Thanks for visiting with us. Thanks for showing up here in New York. I'm sure the veterans out there around really appreciate your service, too.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, we're going to take a break. Much more first things first right after this.
3 times All-Pro. That's Nick, how many times I make All-Pro?
What? Come on, man.
How many, Nick?
5-time All-Pro.
Man, Nick,